Hi, this is Joseph. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the trading strategies that I use. This is a pretty common question that I get from many prospective trade copier subscribers. They're interested in what type of trading system that I'm using to execute these trades. So as you probably already know, if you're interested in using my trade copier service, it is basically a trade duplicator. So when I execute a trade on my MT4 platform, the trade copier will duplicate that same trade. You download it, install it onto your MT4 account, and every time I execute a trade, the trade copier will instantaneously perform the same action. So if I click buy or sell on the pound dollar or euro dollar, dollar yen, dollar Swiss, there's a total of 8 different currency pairs that I trade. The trade copier will always automatically, instantly duplicate the same trade. So when I close out a trade at, let's say, a specific target, the trade copier performs the same action. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the technique. So this is the euro dollar, and for the most part, the continuation breakout trade, I execute this strategy on the 1 hour time frame. This is this week's high up to the price action from this morning. At one point earlier in the week, this line right here, this blue line, separates last week and the beginning of this week. So I know that at one point this was my high for the week right here, and this is my low for the week right here. And at that point, if that distance is appropriate, this is another testing phase that I went through. I wasn't able to see this when I first started looking for these clues. I had to scientifically test each and every piece and component of this strategy. So if the high and the low is appropriate, and what I mean by appropriate is that relative to this time frame, the 1 hour chart, it needs to be greater than 60 pips. I usually will say it's got to be greater than 50 pips, but usually it's going to be greater than 60 pips. 80 pips, 90 pips, even 100 pips is appropriate. If it's a clear range of consolidation, it will stand the test when a candle actually closes above or below support or resistance. If the range is too small, it will likely lead to some kind of head fake, because what I'm looking for on the breakout is a breakout of consolidation and then the trending move that develops in the direction of the breakout. So I'm looking for ways to identify, is it a head fake or not? Is it likely to continue to trade and break out? And what indicators would help me confirm that? But with the trade copier, this is important for you if you're interested in using the trade copier. I use the 1 hour time frame, and it allows me to and safely find opportunities where the trend is likely to continue in the direction of the breakout, and it will reach a 55 pip target. Let me show you a couple of them that we took over the last few weeks. So you'll notice that there's one right here. I'll go ahead and go back to last week. But here is another classic continuation signal candle right there. That candle right there that actually developed on the 30th of July at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm located in California, so this is according to my time zone. And there's the high of resistance. I've got a low of support down here, and then another previous low. So here is where the candle actually closes above resistance. Now, very often, I get a lot of these continuation breakout trades. Not all of them, but I get a lot of them. They develop during the New York session. This one took 7 hours. Some of them will actually pay within about 3 hours. It really depends on the news and what's driving it outside of that range. It could be, ECB rate decision. It could be FOMC. It could be all kinds of different things that create these opportunities. But this is basically what the continuation breakout trade looks like. These are the 3 indicators that I use. But I want to show you another strategy. I've used this for many years. I also use point and figure charts to help me determine the validity of a signal to make sure that it's likely to continue in the breakout, in the direction of the breakout. The point and figure trades very often will correlate with a lot of the breakouts that I get and the opportunities. But point and figure is not only a way to project the expected take profit levels, I should say, based on the type of movement or what's creating the cause for that particular trade setup. It is a way to measure and to determine where price is likely to go, but there are also intraday opportunities. So I'm using point and figure to help me confirm and find my day trades. So the point and figure charts this morning gave me an opportunity to not only go long, but to sell. Initially, obviously, we were watching price reach resistance. This is, by the way, the euro dollar. So let me go ahead and review that range right there. That is the move right up into this resistance point close to the 1800 level on the euro dollar chart here. This was the move here as it was moving up and through. Let me get you the time zone. There's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's midnight California time. So this is, I'm 3 hours behind. So this would be 3 o'clock in the morning, New York time, and then 4 o'clock, and then 5 o'clock. That's where it topped out right there. And let's go back to the point and figure. You can see that move to the downside. And this was my entry right here. Usually I'm going to rely heavily on my point and figure analysis and my intraday setups and opportunities. So again, I use point and figure not only to project take profit levels on different time frames, including the weekly, the monthly. Again, with the Trade Copier service, and I believe, again, this is very important for you to understand if you're going to consider using the service, I day trade. So I would take pieces of a lot of the opportunities that you see here. So from this level right here, the euro dollar, this was an entry at 1782. In this case, I was able to trade it straight to the 40 level right here. The next level of support would be a little bit lower. It didn't even go down that far. It doesn't really matter because I can see when things are turning around. That's one of the other advantages, in my opinion, to using the point and figure charts, is that I can see where critical key levels of support or resistance are. And it's very, very different than what I see on a bar chart or a candlestick chart. It definitely helps me determine where things are turning around, when I get a signal in the opposite direction, and where I should close out my positions and take profits. So from 82 to 40 was this trade here, and you'll notice how it sort of stalled right there and reversed, and then I got a signal going in the opposite direction. And at that point, I was able to determine that what was going on there in the point and figure charts was actually more of the same consolidation that developed here on the candlestick charts. I could clearly see the divergence. I could clearly see the opportunity where price was likely to stay inside of consolidation. It still has not broken out of this range. We had the high there, and a candle closed above that high, but then more recently we had that new spike high here. So now I have a new high for the week, and I have the low for the week. So now I'm resetting, and I'm waiting for a continuation breakout trade. So I use these two different methods together simultaneously. They don't always trigger a trade at the same time, but you'll notice that here were two trade opportunities that paid perfectly. I also did the same thing here with the pound dollar today. This is the pound dollar. It did dip down a little bit lower, printed a continuation sell signal candle right here. This was the first trading system or technique that I developed on my own back in 2001. This is the same system that I began this presentation talking to you about and explaining. This is the signal, but it didn't give me an entry. I use a 3-pip entry, which means that when I get a signal that breaks outside of consolidation, which it did here on that candle, I then wait for price to take out the low of that signal candle by 3 pips. That's my entry. And I never got the 3-pip entry. So this was a way that I was able to, I put this in place with this 3-pip entry. It was a way for me to prevent getting stuck in head fakes, because initially when I developed this continuation breakout trade method, when I got a closed completed candle below support or above resistance, let's say for example like this one, I would immediately get into the trade. This is back in my testing phase back in 2001. I would get into the trade on the signal candle when it was closed, and I would immediately think, okay, maybe this is going to continue. But a lot of the trades would fail, and they would turn into head fakes just like this. They would reverse, and I'd get stopped out. So I was looking for a way to solve that problem. And I attended John Bollinger's seminar, and it was something that he said. He was talking about waiting for confirmation. He was talking about certain trade setups on the larger time frames, but he says when it takes out the low or the high of the signal, then you know you're on your way and it's more likely to continue. So I thought, well, why couldn't I use that with this 1 hour time frame strategy that I was using? So I developed this 3-pip entry method. So again, the 3-pip entry method helps me filter out the possibility of a head fake, and I don't go short until I see that 3-pip entry. And I never got the 3-pip entry. However, I was able to identify a point and figure opportunity to trade it back up. I'll show you that in a minute. But I'll also show you the point and figure opportunity up here at resistance. So let's reset this. Let's go over here to the point and figure on the pound dollar. So this was the point and figure this morning. So again, I'm not going to break down all of the details. It is another video for another another time, a lesson. But again, you can clearly see the support and resistance levels are really, really obvious. Now, how can I help you with all of this? Again, if you have a limited amount of experience, if you're working full time, that's what the Trade Copier will help you. That's where it'll help you. I will execute these trades for you. I will perform the analysis. You'll have the advantage of seeing profits come into your MT4 account while you're making this transition, if that's what you want to do, while you're making this transition to becoming a full-time trader. And eventually you could learn my trading system. If it's not something that you're interested in, to learn how to trade on your own, that's okay too. That's exactly why the trade copier is there. The trade copier is also there to help people that want to make money from and profit from Forex, but don't necessarily want to execute the trades. They don't, they don't have the time. Maybe they've tried it in the past and it just didn't work out for them, and they don't trust their own, analysis and their own execution, which is okay. We've all been there. We've all been there where we've doubted ourselves with trades because we run into, a losing streak, or maybe it didn't work out the way we thought it was going to in the beginning. So many different things can happen, but the trade copier will definitely help you because it's me on the other side conducting the analysis. So I appreciate you taking the time watching this video. I hope that it explains some of the things that I'm doing here. Again, there's a lot more information on the FAQ page as far as the size of the stop loss, how long some of these trades take. All of that information is there. If you have any additional questions that I haven't answered on my website, please feel free to send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to make a personal video for you. Or maybe it's a question that other people have asked that just haven't asked, or thought it, they just haven't asked yet. And I could make a video and explain my answers, and it would help a lot of other people gain some insight into my trading system and the techniques that I'm using. So again, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer.